Hello friends, Mystery here, and today I want to do a little thought experiment with you. This is something I've been mulling over for a while, ever since we started talking about the Flame Skull, honestly, and how and is it a good use of grenade packs. And then Fat Shark released an event that removed drops from the level. It actually even removed Medicae stations, but most notably, it removed those big yellow chests that have the random plasteel, diamantine, and ammo and stuff inside of them. And this got me thinking, and hear me out here, what if we just removed all drops from Darktide, from the actual combat gameplay? What if that was just no longer an element of the game? And I thought about this for a good while now, and I've really tried to approach it from all angles, try to play devil's advocate with myself. Of course, I've got you guys to sound off on this. Maybe my perspective is warped here, but I genuinely think that this would be a very good idea for the health of the game. It would make the game feel better. It would make players, I think, of all stripes a lot happier with the flow, because this is a major flow interrupter for me. And so the footage behind me when I'm talking right now, it's not necessarily germane to the conversation, but what I want you to notice is that in this game, by the way, I'm the only player who was really interested in resources. I was the only one with grenades. I was the only one that needed ammo, and so my team was plowing forward, but I needed to look around and loot stuff in order to keep my resources topped off, because this is Havoc. And of course, they could have slowed down and waited for me, but that sucks for them too, right? So yeah, this was a kind of like a ish sort of experience. I'm used to it, right? I can hold my own back here. I got my little servo skull keeping me company, but it sucks to have to be the player who's going around and looting these chests. And that got me really thinking. I genuinely think the chests should not exist. At least on Havoc, they should not exist. But I think that if we scale it down and go through the rest of the game, it would be pretty good too. So let me give you my case against the random loot distribution, and then I'll give you my case for and what we would replace it with, because there'd be a little bit of kind of infrastructure we need to replace it with that could make it work smoother. But the number one thing here is I want to make clear is, what are we removing with this? We are going to be removing anything that drops randomly in levels, and that means ammo, both the small and large variety. It also means the resources, both plasteel and diamantine. It means health crates and ammo crates are gone, as well as stims. So all that stuff that normally drops is out of there, which means you can take those stupid yellow chests out, and yeah, there you go, right? You no longer need those. You no longer need to be running around the environment to look for this stuff. Yeah. And the other thing I think maybe we could consider is something they did with this recent event, which is removing Medicae stations. There's a lot of maps in this game that are very unevenly balanced because these Medicae stations are at the wrong spot. And if the game smiles upon you and gives you good luck, you can end up with a Medicae station that has 3 charges, or you can end up with one that has 1. Right, you can end up getting completely screwed, and so you can end up with this incredibly uneven experience where the game starves you of resources in the first little tiny bit, and you have a terrible game as a result because, oh, I was a gun class and I didn't get to pick up any ammo, or my health got knocked really low immediately and there was only 1 Medicae charge at the first station, and the next one was halfway off, I got killed, and then I had to wait forever. Those sort of experiences are really bad. So I think by removing this stuff, we're gonna kind of level the game out a good bit. And let's get into it in a real respect. Let me structure this in some sort of way so you can follow. So my first big point against the random distribution resources is the looting aspect. The time and the having to actually do it, it really sucks. The amount of time it drains from any given game is not it's not small, right? Because you end up having situations where you have to loot through an environment. Certain environments in this game are massive, and they are very horizontally wide or vertical, and if you are missing resources in them, you can be setting yourself up for a big failure later on, right? So you have to loot thoroughly, especially in Havoc a lot of times, because if you miss resources in there, if say there was a health crate in this one chest way over at the corner of the map and no one went and checked that chest, the game doesn't forgive you. It doesn't give you a freebie and move the health crate forward for you to collect it later. You can't go back and get that at a certain point, and so now you are down a really, really powerful resource. And I just don't think that that's good design at all, because not every player knows where every chest is. Definitely most players don't. And most players do not want to be running around the map and looking for every single little corner to see what other people have looted, what they haven't. And it really, really sucks. And it takes a ton of time too. So not even just for Havoc players who are on a timer, because there's like, you know, timed horde waves and timed boss waves that are coming your way, but just for everybody in general, just waiting around or making the traversal to get to some of these crates and then get back to the main path takes, you know, minutes on top of games that are, you know, Fat Shark even acknowledges a lot of players think that the games are too long, like the base games are too long, at 30 to 40 minutes for players who like aren't exactly moving efficiently. And this gets even worse when we pivot to the next big reason why I do not like the system. It's terrible for new players, because right now, or really, you know, from now and on into the future, Darktide is a very stratified game in terms of its player base. We have a big portion of the player base who have hundreds if not thousands of hours, who've been playing for a long time. They have got plenty of resources. They might still be playing on Heresy, Damnation, Auric, and tons of them do, and they don't care to pick up stuff. Whenever you see like event missions, you'll see the players who were just there to get the event done, and they don't pick up shit. They're not going around and pick it, because you don't need to loot for ammo or whatever. There's plenty of ammo to go around on the map, and you just go by. You don't care about getting plasteel diamantine. Meanwhile, your new players have everything going against them, because if they don't loot for those chests, they don't get any resources. So the rest of the team is blowing them by, and you could say, oh, the team should wait up, but then that just takes forever for everybody, and it kind of sucks for both. All these players just want the resources, or just to be done, like just to play the game, right? I don't think that the new players really enjoy looting for the resources either. So the new players, they don't know the map, so they're getting turned around. They don't know which way to go. They don't know where the resource containers are, so they don't even know where to look, you know, to find this stuff. And they are also not equipped to like defend themselves. So if they get lagged behind the team, like I am in some of this footage, they're going to get ambushed and killed, because the game can detect that and fuck them for trying to get resources. And if they don't collect the resources, if they're the only one looking and they miss some, they're going to get way less at the end of the game. They're going to get very, very much less rewards, because you don't get anything for just like finishing it. You have to collect it in the game. And that really bites for those players. It's just truly brutal. And it makes everybody, I think from both perspectives, they're pretty unhappy. And I've seen a ton of people complaining on forums, etc., about like, I'm just trying to get my fucking plasteel up, man, and I've got these like speed demons out here who are just like breezing them out because they don't care. But man, if I don't collect it, like I literally can't craft my weapons. It sucks. The next really big thing, and this is maybe the biggest thing for me as more of a upper end, you know, optimization gamer, it's the balance issue. It is the fact that the game is already pretty lopsided. It can like really kind of like pull out all the stops and try to kill you in certain games, especially in Havoc. It can be extremely, extremely swingy. And at the same time, it can also do that with resources, where it can completely starve your team of health packs and stims and ammo and stuff in like the very first part and set you off to a terrible start. Or it can front load all that stuff and you'll have tons of health and ammo and stuff going off in the start of the map, and you'll be like good to coast. The difference between those two is pretty monumental. But even outside of the balance of like winning versus losing, you have to consider the balance and what it does to the balance between characters. Because right now, and this is a big thing I was thinking about when I was conceptualizing this idea, is right now we have certain classes that have absolutely dominant, you know, command over grenades and ammo, right? Giving more ammo to arc rifle, giving more grenades to Hive Scum, or you know, well, I guess mostly Hive Scum, but you know, giving more grenades to Hive Scum, that's a big swing in terms of power, right? And so what are you going to have, right? Imagine you're playing as the Zealot and you've got Immolation Grenade, right? You get to use your 3 grenades, but there's really no assurance that you're going to get any more, because if the Hive Scum is also using his 3 rockets for every pack he picks up, it is objectively the correct decision to give the Hive Scum the rockets, right? It's objectively, when the pack comes up, you tag it and you say, hey man, come get this, right? And that means that you don't have a guarantee at all that there's ever going to be any surplus where you can get a refill on yours. So you might just have 3 for the entire game, which also a lot of times means you end up not using them like you know, when you really should be, where you could get a good effect out of them. Meanwhile, the Hive Scum at any provocation is like, I get to use my rocket launcher, because he has a pretty good chance and getting to pick up the next little pack that goes around. And that also really like biases the game in the favor of these characters and takes a lot of fun from other characters. I don't know if you guys had played on lower difficulties lately, but like things like Rocket Launcher on Heresy, Damnation, etc., they are completely oppressive because they not only wipe out all the elites, like the scary stuff in a massive radius, but they also chunk bosses, which just removes like a ton of actual playing from the game. Anything that like might be a big challenge, like a big scary wave, kaboom, it's all like instantly dead, right? And then the Hive Scum gets to pick up every single pack of grenades from there and rinse and repeat throughout the whole level. So it really doesn't feel fun to be a class who's trying to play, you know, with your frickin' sword and get out there and fight, and then it just keeps getting exploded because you got someone who gets to hoard these resources and just flex them for millions of damage. Same thing applies, but to a lesser extent with ammo, right? If you've got a Rumbler Ogre who's the only real ammo user on your team, he'll fuck up the map. He'll fuck up the entire game, right? You go Rumbler, Point Blank Barrage, and just explode the fuck out of everything the entire game long. If he's the only real ammo user, there's nothing slowing him down. It's the one check and balance on that power. It's the one check on the power of the rocket launcher and other powerful grenade blitz abilities as well. But yeah, being able to funnel those resources really makes the game feel lopsided, and it really strips a lot of, potential and fun away from other characters. Because like, you're already not exactly in the pinnacle of power playing as the Zealot, etc. But or like the RBDs with RBDs grenades or whatever. But then you also don't get like these hyper powered blitzes that can be just keep getting refilled over and over and over again. So that really irks me. Anyway, that's all for like, denigrating this system and saying like why I think it's bad. So now let's talk about what I would replace this system with. Obviously, we need to replace getting stims, health, ammo, and resources. The first and easiest one is the resources. That should just be you get a certain amount for completing X difficulty, right? I don't know why it's not this. It is kind of crazy that you have to loot for this stuff, and it's going to be good to make this change, both for new players who just, they want to play the game. They don't want to be looting. That's not the game that they were really advertised. They want the resources. Just guarantee them a certain amount for completing. It's also great for experienced players because now they don't have like new players who are wandering off, opening every chest, trying to desperately get this stuff. They can play together as a team. And also, it's completely something you don't have to think about, right? You don't have to Google, best ways to min-max your resource gain per map. What's the best map to run over and over to get resources? That sort of stuff is out the window. Certainly, there might be like, players could speed run to get resources, but also, I feel that if you are a player who's capable of speed running on X difficulty, you probably aren't like starving for resources. Most players who speed run are generally pretty veteran at the game and have plenty going around. But if that shark really wanted to, they could put some sort of like stipulation. Oh, you must play the game for at least 15 minutes per match to get the resources. I think that's reasonable, right? Because a speedrunning game where you're running through in 7 minutes or 8 minutes or whatever, you don't give a shit about the resources. You're just trying to do it fast to do it fast. You probably would give a shit if you're a player who's actually playing the game and killing enemies and fighting the level. And if you're beating it in faster than 15 minutes there, like, you should probably move up in difficulty, honestly. But yeah, so I think that's a really easy one to solve. Just make it distribute a flat amount per difficulty. Now, the next thing is like the actual resources that affect your gameplay. And this is where it gets a bit tricky, but I think we can just steal an idea from Space Marine 2 here. Space Marine 2, if you haven't played, has resupply stations at certain fixed points in the map. I can't remember off the top of my head, but I want to say it's either 1 or 2 per map. So you're either separating the map into halves, where you'll have a full resupply in the middle, or thirds, where you'll have 2 full resupplies, like one, usually there's like one before the boss or whatever at the end. And I think this is a great idea from a number of perspectives. First of all, it standardizes the amount of resources that everybody gets. And that means that like players who would normally like not use the grenades because they're like, oh, I don't know if I'll get any more, they have a certain amount that they will get. They know they're going to get a full resupply of grenades. They're going to get a full resupply of ammo. And it's up to them to know that, oh yeah, well, from this point on to the end of the game, we're not going to get any more. Therefore, smoke them if you got them. But if you're getting a little bit light, you might want to start conserving ammo a little bit better. This also is going to be better for like the designers of the game and like the balance perspective, one of the only times the game can really tell accurately what resources you have on hand is the start of the game. Because at the start of the game, you have 100% resources on hand, right? You got your ultimate, you got your full health, you got your full ammo, full grenades, etc. So that is where the game has all the knowledge it needs to, know what it can actually send against you. The player should be fully capable at this point. And after that point, I know a lot of people like to make out the Darktide director is like super clever or something. It's not. It doesn't actually keep track of any of that stuff. It's not like it's spawning, extra health packs or whatever when you're low in health to make it dramatic or anything. No, it's just kind of like going off the information it has, and it is not keeping track of that stuff. It doesn't know they don't know how difficult to make the game because they don't know what resource level we're at, because you have to compensate. You have to kind of structure the difficulty such that it could accommodate for both the situation where the team has been given no resources randomly at the start of the map, or the one where the team is fully loaded up. They got a full resupply, they got full HP, and so the only times the game right now has any knowledge of that is after like the health stations, right? So like before end events and mid events, or even in those events, usually there is a full health station with 4 pips on it. What about at the times where we do that, there is also a full resupply, a chest, you touch it and it fully rekits. You get full grenades, full ammo, there you go. And there should also be a table or a chest that has one of each color of stim in it. And then you also have one or two ammo crates and a med crate, because you need to compensate players for removing the ammo from the level, and there's normally 2 and 2 of each of those. So yeah, let's give them 2 ammo crates and 2 med crates per half of the map, and 1 med crate per half of the map, something like that. That way, those resources are still distributed, but you don't have to go scour the entire environment to look for them. And you still have that interactivity between players, so that they have to cooperate to share the resources, because it is up to the person who's holding it to decide when to distribute it. They can hand it to another player, and they can choose when to put the crate down, but it reduces the amount of time and irritation that is like, oh, I found a big crate, a big ammo pack over here. Hey, Skitari, come pick this up. He runs 35 seconds that way, picks up the pack, walks back. Like we're resuming the gameplay a minute later on. Yeah, that stuff would be entirely gone. Now, other cool ideas I think they could explore along this vein, if we wanted to steal from Space Marine 2, is to actually allow you to change your loadout. Not change your class, but to change your loadout. If you were playing Arbides and you had the shock maul, but there's a lot of gunners, you could change to having the shield, right, for the second half of the match, and that might better sort of fit the tempo of the game. So changes like that could be really, really cool. I'd love to see something like that, because that's one of the cooler things about that you can do in Space Marine 2 is like pick a sort of setup just for the boss, right? That's coming up, and yeah, I think that would be pretty cool. You could also, I think, do well with eliminating a ton of these random Medicae stations, the ones that have like 1 charge or 2 charges or 3 charges, you never know. That stuff is very uneven, adds even more randomness to this already very random game. So I think at least on Havoc, this idea would definitely be extremely well suited, because players do not want to be, nor is it like good for the experience to be looting the environment to find like little scraps of ammo and stuff. Just give them the resources that they need, so they can actually just focus on playing the game. And I think that logic applies to like everything in the game as well. So with that being said, let me know what you think in the comments, guys. Ostensibly, I think this would be pretty easy for Fat Shark to do, right? Just to remove that stuff, add in because like if you touch there's a resupply thing in the Psychanium, so just do that, but put it in the level. Bada bing, bada boom. Yeah, I think that would be a pretty cool change to the game. Let me know what you think. All right, thanks for watching. Mystery out of here. Bye-bye.